إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح لهذه الأمة وأما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه ويقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه وهو أصدق القائلين بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون صدق الله العظيم ثم أما بعد Jazakallah first for Imam Shibli. I was actually going to do that myself. Inshallah, if there's any space, if you see a space in front of you, even while you're sitting down, just like scoot out forward, just because, that way people who come in later or people, who come in at the doors and we don't block the doors and everything. So, the further forward you are, the more rewards you get and all that, inshallah. Inshallah, I wanted to actually start with discussing some tafsir, and I'm using the abridged tafsir of Ibn Kathir. I'm giving a further abridged version, so it's not really, very short, very brief, inshallah. And the ayahs I want to discuss are the ayahs in Surah An-Nur to discuss the masajid. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب صدق الله العظيم. So the ayah starts في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه. Meaning Allah's talking in houses. He's going to describe some people, but he's describing first the place that they're in. In houses that Allah has permitted to be raised, Allah has ordered to be raised, and that Allah's name be recited and remembered in these houses. And some of the Tafsirin, they say that يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ also means that Allah's words, that the Quran is recited in these houses. That's right. And the tafsir actually mentions some hadith about the reward of building masajid, of actually raising these houses that Allah has ordered to be built. And one of the hadith is مَنْ بَنَى مَسْجِدًا يَبْتَغِي بِهِ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ بَنَى اللَّهُ لَهُ مِثْلَهُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Meaning whoever builds a masjid, a place of sajda, seeking Allah's face, seeking the reward of seeing Allah's face, seeking the reward from Allah, Allah will build for him something like it in Jannah, in paradise. And in another hadith, a similar one, مَنْ بَنَى مَسْجِدًا يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ بَنَى اللَّهُ لَهُ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever builds a masjid in which Allah's name is remembered, that satisfies this requirement of being a masjid, Allah will build for him a house in paradise. And it's interesting to think about, what does it mean to have a house built for you? And one way we can think about it is, today when we have a job and it involves moving across country or even to a different country, one of the perks that's often offered is relocation. They'll say, we'll help you out with the ticket and finding a home here and everything. Some of them even say, we'll have a home ready for you. Right? We'll have something ready for you. And what does that tell you? That tells you that they want you. That tells you that they're willing to go the extra mile and, make sure that everything's catered, everything's ready for you, that you have a place to stay and all of that. Now take that one step further. What if instead of just relocation, say we have a house ready, what if they say we want you so much that we'll build a house for you? We want in this job so much that we will build you a house to come here. Right? It's a step up. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says when the Prophet ﷺ says that the reward for building a masjid is that not the angels, not the people of paradise, not the prophets, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself will build a house for you, in paradise. That should tell us all we need to know about the reward associated with building masajid and with contributing, to the building of the masajid and making sure that these are masajid in which Allah's name is remembered. But the tafsir, as the tafsir continues, it also offers, kind of a warning. Yes, there is a huge reward, but also don't overdo it. There's different hadith, different sayings mentioned about not, don't decorate it to the extent that people can be distracted in the masajid. And there's one hadith that's mentioned, Anas, the Prophet said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتباهى الناس في المسجد. Meaning the hour will not come until, and the translation goes, until people show off in building masjids. Alhamdulillah, I don't know if we're at that point yet, but it is something to keep in mind that the idea of a masjid isn't somewhere where, you build and you make everything gold trim and you get the carpets moving with silk, and that's not what a masjid is for. A masjid is, as the ayah mentions, يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ. The masajid are places that Allah's name is remembered in. They're places of worship, first and foremost. And the ayahs continue, and they describe رِجَالُ يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ فِيهَا بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْآصَالِ. So Allah says, in these masajid, in which Allah's name is remembered, it's now talking about specific people who glorify Allah day and night, who are always in the masjid. And one of the hadith that's mentioned here is بَشِّرِ الْمَشَايِينَ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ فِي الظُّلْمِ بِالنُّورِ التَّامِّ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That's in all of Islam, meaning give glad tidings. Bashar is give news, but specifically good news to those who walk to the masjids in darkness. So, you're walking to a masjid and maybe the road's not well lit, the lights up front aren't working properly, whatever the case may be. Give good news to those people of what? بِالنُّورِ التَّامِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. With a perfect light, with a complete light on the day of judgment. On a day when there is no light except for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with. On a day when we have to cross the sirat on our own, across hellfire. And on that day, these people who walk to the masjid, even though it was dark, they'll have a perfect light, as Allah Nur Tam, complete light to guide them. And the verses continue, رِجَالُ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. This is an important point. This is, the crux of the ayat, meaning, the people in these masajid, the people who come here, they are not distracted. They're not distracted from the prayers. They're not distracted from the worship that they're supposed to be doing by other things. To the extent that they might leave off tijaratun bay, meaning trading, selling, business, in order to go to the masjid and to be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is talking about these people, and the reason they do is يَخَافُونَ يَوْمَ تَتَقَلَّبُ فِيهِ الْقُلُوبُ وَالْأَبْصَارُ, meaning they fear a day in which the hearts and the eyes are turned towards Allah, meaning the day of judgment, that they're aware of it, and for that reason they realize that the masajid are places of worship, are places where people should go, people should congregate, Muslims should be, and the first and foremost thing that we should remember is that they're for worship. Yes, other things, masajid also can function as the centers of a community, as you can hold events there, things like that, but the main purpose of a masjid, and the one thing that defines it as a masjid, not just a community center, is that people are worshiping in it, day and night, as the ayah says. And that passage concludes by saying, for these people who aren't distracted by other things, and they go to the masajid and they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will reward them يزيهم الله, and then وَيَزِيدَهُم مِّن فَضْلِهِ. So they're rewarded, and Allah increases their reward, multiplies it, measure upon measure, as it were. And Allah, and the passage, Allah يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. And Allah provides in this world and in the next world without measure to whomever He wills. It's actually, I want to just mention that passage and just quickly go to tafsir to kind of set up my next topic for the second khutbah, inshallah. وأقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله الذي أنعم علينا بنعمة الإسلام وحبب إلينا الإيمان وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ثم أما بعد. Kind of frame the topic for the second khutbah in relation to the first. I think we've all heard at least of the hadith of the 7 groups of people who are blessed with Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's shade on the Day of Judgment. And honestly, that hadith, you can do an entire conference just on analyzing it. So I'm just going to mention the two of the 7 groups as they relate to the topic today, inshallah. And the 2 groups in particular are, one, youth who grew up in the worship of Allah. So young people who, while they were growing up, even maybe before they reached the age of bulugh, the age of purity, of where their deeds are, they're accountable for all of their deeds, even before then, that they were still growing up and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that time. And then the second group is people who fit the description of a man whose heart is attached to the masjid, and everything that entails. And I mentioned these 2 groups because if we look at the 7 groups who are shaded, it's not an easy thing. It's not that you're given shade for doing tiny, small. They may seem small, but they're not easy things to do. Right? One of them is, for example, being a just ruler. And as we know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a reason that being a just ruler is one of the 7 groups shaded. It's because it's a difficult thing to do. And so, for a young person to grow up in the worship of Allah, that's tough to do. And if you look around today, it's readily apparent why. We're bombarded even. Just walking in the streets. Not even around here, but if you go to New York, it's even more so. With messages and with, suggestions that contradict Islam. You have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media. Further bombardment of things that may not be in line with what Islam teaches. So for a young person to grow up in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a very difficult thing. And then the next group is a man whose heart is attached to the masjid, a person who really loves the masjid, loves to go to the masjid, loves to take care of the masjid. That's also difficult to do. We say, we have our job, it's hard for me to go to the masjid, I'll just pray at home, I'll just pray at work. We say these things for us, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason that group is shaded is because we can say, I'll pray at home, I'll pray at work, I'll pray somewhere else instead of the masjid. Because those who deny that and say, no, I'm going to go to the masjid, there's a special, that's a special level of iman. And I mention this because, the masajid, and I have alluded to it a couple of times now, the main purpose is the worship of Allah. These 2 things are tied together. For a young person to grow up in the worship of Allah, and then a man who's attached to us, these 2 things are very much intertwined. In that if a young person is going to the masjid regularly, chances are they'll be growing up in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a man is going to the masjid regularly, chances are very good that he's trying his best to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, the masajid, they're not really cultural centers, they're centers of worship. They're places that are at the vanguard, at the front of sustaining the practice of Islam. And that becomes especially important when we consider young people today. As an example, I remember this was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was sitting here doing Taraweeh, and at some point, one of the people who was praying, in between the rak'ahs, maybe there were some kids playing around in the back or whatever it was, and he kind of, either he went to the mic or he just raised his voice a little bit so everyone could hear him, and he was saying, can someone control these kids? Why are you bringing these kids here? They're distracting people from the prayer, just kind of censuring whoever the responsible adults were for those kids. And so one of the fathers, he actually spoke up and he said, you know what, okay, if there's going to be a problem, I just won't bring them. And it's a scenario, it's an event that I keep thinking about, even today. I've thought about it multiple times. It happened 6-7 years ago. I've thought about it multiple times. Because that's not the solution. The solution to, kids maybe being a little rowdy, and these were probably not even double-digit age kids. Not old kids making a big racket. These were young kids playing around. The solution to that isn't to not bring them to the masjid, because that's the last thing we want to do in this day and age, is to discourage young people from going to the masjid. But in order to really make it a welcoming place, every one of us, whether we're a parent, whether we're just someone who's coming here to pray, whether we're the imam, which is not to slight anybody, inshallah, no matter who we are, we need to do our part. And for a parent, that might be teaching your kid the etiquette of the masjid. It might be teaching your kid that when people are praying, to keep the noise down. Or when we go to the masjid, if they're super young, maybe keep them with you. Keep them at your side. Hold them in your hand if you have to, while you're praying. That might be the part of the parent. The part of the other people in the jama'ah might be that if, in one rak'ah, you happen to hear a kid, running around or laughing or whatever, to bear that with patience, to bear that with a little sabr, to show, yes, it might be distracting, but that kid's in the masjid. So there's no need to, obviously if it keeps happening, maybe you figure out who the kid is, figure out who the parent is, and see, take further steps. But if it happens once, twice, we can look past it, we can refocus ourselves, inshallah. And the reason it's important that the kids are comfortable in the masjid, that the younger people are comfortable coming to the masjid, they want to come to the masjid, is because this is a place that they can come to learn Islam. I'm not talking about, as various shuyukh say, Sheikh Lulu, or your Islam QAs, or your online. I have a degree in Islamic studies from Google and Facebook. We're not talking about learning Islam like that. We're talking about, getting the shuyukh, the imams. We're talking about getting people who can recite Quran and that they teach the Quran in the masjid. And that all happens. And alhamdulillah, ISCJ is actually very good at this. We have the Friday halakas, we have Sundays after Fajr. There's a tafsir class with Dr. Muhammad Sagir. We have Sheikh Ismail, who does the Quran Academy here. So all these things are happening in this masjid. And that's just as an example. Because if kids are coming to the masjid to learn, then, and we have good teachers in place, and we have a good system in place, they'll learn Islam properly. Because they're not coming to the masjid. They might still learn Islam. But it'll be from other people. It'll be, somewhere on maybe one of the two extremes. It might be, from an extreme of so-called radicals, who distort Islam to further whatever agendas they have. It might be from the other extreme of people who seek to reform Islam, or seek to bend Islam's rules, or say that Islam doesn't really teach this, or Islam, this rule isn't really what it seems, and, kind of mess us still. They also distort Islam, but for a different reason. And so, these extremes are kind of pushed away if someone's coming to the masjid and learning in the masjid. And really it helps keep people, as they say, on the straight and narrow, on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and not get lured away. So at the end of the day, I guess the take home here is we do need to focus on our masajid. Not just, and I mentioned though, that building a masjid has a huge reward. And that is part of it. But the other part is yudhkaru fihi ismullah. We need to make sure that we are using the masajid, to the best of our ability for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, it doesn't have to be that you build a masjid in order to gain the reward of building a masjid. It can even be that you help a masjid stay afloat, that you help a masjid stay upright and not, especially in today's world, we have various financial things, maintenance, security, all these things. It doesn't have to be necessarily building, so that's part of it. And then after we've helped build the masjid, to take part, not just in the community activities, but also in the worship, so that it stays as a place of worship, as Imam Shibli likes to say, until the day of judgment. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in our communities, whether it's in this masjid, in the various masajids in the US, across the world, to keep that tradition of worshiping Allah in the masajid. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, if there's anything good that I have said and that's beneficial, that's from His bounty, I ask Allah to count it among our hasanat. If there's anything that I said is a mistake or that is incorrect, that's from the flaws of myself, I ask Allah to forgive me for that. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الميزان. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين وذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين واحمي هذا الإسلام يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وسنة نبيك وعبادك الصالحين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء والأموات إنك يا مولانا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.